as we come to the end of the year, it's really good to look back and to reflect on the things that you've learned. And I would love to share the 5 things that I've learned this year. And I feel like the beginning of the year was so much like I was in such a completely different place, mentally, physically, emotionally. And where I am now is a completely different space too. I feel like I've really grown as a person, and it is amazing how much can change in 1 year. So the first thing I learned is discipline is built when you stop waiting to feel ready. So this was a big year for discipline for me because I was in the middle of, writing a book and editing the book. And there's so many times where I just I want to give up. I can't do this. It's just it was just a lot of work, right? And the motivation was very much not there at a lot of moments. And I never really showed those moments where I was really struggling to push through. But I wanted it so bad. So I knew that I had to push through because I knew that my goal was important to me and I needed to get to reach it. And I'm really glad I did. And I learned so much about that process too, because it wasn't a thing that I had to be only worked on it when I felt good, when I, felt emotionally ready to do it. It wasn't like I woke up and felt motivated, so I'm going to write. I had to write and I had to edit the book on those days that I did not want to. And doing that has taught me so much about myself, built more self-trust for myself because I know I could do these hard things. And I made promises to myself and kept them. And so that also brought gave me more self-confidence and self-trust in myself. It was also amazing to get to the end of it this year and publish the book on my birthday, November 13th. And just to, it was worth it just to push through. And I'm just so happy that all the times that I said I was going to give up, I never did and continue to push through. I learned so much about the importance of discipline. And I'm not talking about, hardcore discipline where, I'm like a robot and I just push away the emotions and get things done. I'm sure I could if I wanted to, but there were so many times where I had to actually be respectful to myself too and be like today is a hard day. You're exhausted from, working full time, being with your kids, and then you have to go and write and stuff, and just having that discipline to have a system in place that says, I'm going to give 30 minutes to this, even though I don't want to, but I'm going to give 30 minutes. And by continuously doing that is how I got to the end result of having the book completed. And now I can move on to other things and repeat the process. But now I know that when I get stuck and it's emotionally I'm exhausted, physically I'm exhausted, and I feel like I can't keep going, that's when I need to, that's how I learned to keep pushing through. And it's so worth it because you know what? Life is full of seasons and your motivation will dwindle and disappear for a bit. But then if you keep pushing through, it comes back. And when it comes back, you're just you just got to get through that hump. Because when it comes back, then you're again, the momentum is going, but you have to keep going through those times. Because if I quit every time that I lost my motivation, I would not accomplish anything I did this year. So that is one of the biggest things I've learned this year. Another thing was pulling my energy back when it was no longer good for me to give it to other people. So there was a few situations where I had to reflect and say is this where I want to put my energy? And these situations no longer fit who I was. And that's really hard for someone like me who is was a people pleaser and very didn't know how to set boundaries. Because when I set boundaries, I found that it threw a lot of people off because of someone who didn't have boundaries. Setting them was new to these people. And it had me just this year really reflect on myself. Honestly, I either abandon myself to make these people happy, or I take my energy and redirect it somewhere else. And that's what I did. And it wasn't something that it wasn't like a big spectacle or a dramatic event. It's more just pulling my energy to other places that it's more valued and appreciated. And you will come through these times in your life, especially because you're always growing and adapting, that you're going to have these moments where, what you thought was something you want to have in your life, or maybe you thought it was a give and take relationship, but then you start realizing that you're giving and they're taking, then you got to reevaluate if that's where you want to put your energy. And you just quietly start putting your energy in other places. And it's alignment too. It's the universe saying that this no longer fits for you. And that's why you're feeling this way. And it's time to take your energy and put it into other things that align with you as the person you are now. And that's what happens. Like when you start changing and you're growing and you're improving in life, the people in your life will start changing too. And you'll just find people that are more maybe fitting for the lifestyle you're moving into, like your future self. The third thing was your nervous system is everything. Like I have become so aware of my nervous system now. And like I used to be in flight and fight so badly, like probably most of my life. And it was just, I constantly, like I would go out and I would eat and I would look around and try to just work out every situation in my head. Like it was exhausting because I was so like jumpy. And I didn't realize like how much it caused issues for me. So after I started to get more into like rest mode and not flight and fight, a lot of things happened through that time. Like I was, had to take a period of, sleeping and just like healing that way. Because like I'm finally feeling safe. So now I can actually like be more cozy and stuff. And then there was a lot of things too about like old habits kind of leaving me that I used to use to help me regulate that I don't need now because I'm not in flight and fight. But this year, it's like every now and then I get into like stressful situations and that it flips my whatever flight and fight response. And then those old habits are like the thing that I used to go to all the time. And every now and then they peak up and then I go to them and then I realize I don't fit there anymore and have to leave. And that's just, like I said, I have to stop doing that. And that's the process of like self-improvement and growing. You're going to go and have 5 steps backwards to go 10 steps forwards. It's just how it is. I stopped fighting and I stopped caring about it. I just live my life, but I'm very, very aware of my nervous system and the situations and the people who are around me. Do I feel safe here? Do I and my choices too? Like, am I making choices that help my nervous system and all that? And then it was a lot of things too, was when you're overwhelmed and your nervous system is fight and fight, you're tired, you're exhausted, you're mental overload. And that's actually why you go to other things to help with that, to cope with that, because you're so exhausted mentally and emotionally that you have to smoke a cigarette or maybe have a drink. So I actually used to smoke at the beginning of the year, and then I quit and went to vaping, and then I quit. But it was back and forth, I would start and stop. And now it's been a good streak of not doing that. And that's because I've worked very hard to put my nervous system into a safer space and to make sure I'm not in in situations that set off my fight response. But you know what? It's life and it's going to happen. Sometimes it's set off because I'm nervous about work, because there's so much work at my job or something, right? It's normal. But the point is, this year I learned so much of how to manage it in a way that I don't go back to my old habits. And that's by having other habits that help me manage it. That's why I exercise. That's why I journal. That's why I walk my dog, because these are habits that keep my nervous system regulated. And if my nervous system feels safe and feels good, then I feel energized. I feel alive. I feel more motivated. I feel more myself. When I'm in fight and fight, I'm exhausted. I'm tired. Everything is just stressful and your cortisol is all up in the air, and it's just your lack of sleep, your all this stuff, right? So I work very hard to make sure like my nervous system is feeling safe and in a rest state. And a lot that like pre-planning things helps me a lot too, because then I can have like sort of a control over that kind of situation, just being prepared for things. But actually that's probably like a, like a defense mechanism to an unregulated nervous system. But I've become so much more aware of it and make sure to put myself in situations that I'm in a restful state, and also feeling when I'm in fight and fight response, noting it and being self-compassionate to myself. I'm not lazy. I'm overstimulated. I'm not lazy. And because I'm such a productive person that I feel like if I'm not productive, then I feel bad for myself. And that was a very hard thing for me to overcome, because I had to constantly tell myself that no, just because you're not productive today doesn't mean you're unworthy, anything less. You're not. Like, have self-compassion for yourself and realize that right now your nervous system is reactive. Like you're stressed. So having that self-compassion really helps me to regulate my nervous system again. Then the fourth thing is that becoming your future self, it's like daily habits. It's not a vision board, it's daily habits. So you want to become your future self, you have to embody those habits of your future self. How would your future self dress? How would your future self walk? How would they talk? How would they interact with people? What habits would they have? And like write them down, and then slowly start doing that. And I have a list, and I know I said this in a couple of videos too, but I'm going to say it again, because when you have, like, you need to be clear of what you want. You need to be clear of who you want to be and what you want. And it's okay. If you don't know, then that's okay. That's why you go out there and you try different things and you figure it out. That's the whole point of life. That's what makes it fun, because you could be anything you want to be, right? But if you do have an idea of some of the things, like it could be anything. Like it could be, I want to be a more organized person. Write that habit down and just keep a list of all the habits that you want. And every day, start working on one of those habits. And just do a little bit of it every day. And the more you do that, the next thing you know, a year will go by and you'll look back and you'll be like, wow, I am now that version of myself that I want to be at the beginning of the year. And I recommend this to everybody. Like, actually write it down, because then, and read it to yourself every day, because when you note that, you start actually like subconsciously making decisions that are better, like that fit those habits, right? Like if you want to be a more organized and clean person, slowly your habits throughout the day will start to change like that. Like, let's say you take something out of its place. You naturally start, because you're conscious, putting things back into place, because that's how you keep an environment clean, is by putting things back in its home and maintaining it. So when you're aware that that's a habit you want for your future self, throughout your day, you'll start actually doing little bits of those habits, because it's self-awareness and now you're aware of it. So I recommend it. And it's honestly super fun, and it's super cool to be able to design the life you want, to be the person that you want to be. Even if it's like super delusional, do it. Like, it is amazing. That's basically you manifesting who you want to be. And that's the way to do it, is embodying the habits of the person you want to become. The fifth thing is choosing yourself changes everything. And when I'm saying choosing yourself, I mean, it is so important that you make decisions in your life that are good for you and that fill your life up with joy. And right now it's, the holiday season. And I think a lot of times during this period, a lot of people might have, like for me too, like I have boundaries set for certain things, like places I won't go. And I think at this time people get sentimental and they get more emotional, and they might try to, get me to break those boundaries. but I know like I need to continue to choose myself, and I need to continue to make sure my energy is protected. And I know that it could upset people. I understand that. But at the end of the day, like, it's my life and it's my decision of whose energy I want to be around. Like, energy is a very big thing. And when you're choosing yourself, like, it's even having boundaries with yourself to choose yourself. Like, you got to kind of like parent yourself, basically. And so there's a lot of times that I had to make decisions, and I was like, like, I actually need to do this, make this decision because it protects my inner child. And that's basically what like choosing yourself is, right? Because there's so much times that I would like abandon myself, and then my inner child would be like, well, like that was that's what my inner child thought our relationship was, right? Like, you keep abandoning yourself, right? And now I'm at that point in my life, which I developed this year a lot, of choosing myself and not abandoning myself. And it's super important because when you start doing that, your world will reflect that, and people in your life will be the people that will also choose you and choose themselves as well, because that's important too. And it's alignment. So if I'm choosing like myself and you're choosing yourself, and then we come together, like, we're in alignment, right? Because we're being authentically ourselves. And choosing yourself is also like making better decisions for yourself, even though you want to do other things, right? And it's being, having boundaries and being responsible, and focusing on your goals, and being self-compassionate to yourself. Those are all things to choose yourself. And it's very important that you need to do that, because if you're not choosing yourself, then other people will not choose you either. Because why would they? You're not even choosing you, right? So why would they want to? And like, you need to, because it's your job. It's your responsibility to take care of you. And to take care of you, you need to choose yourself. So I choose myself every day when I go for a run. I choose myself every day when I, get a good sleep. I choose myself every day when I eat a healthy meal. I honestly choose myself every day too when I eat ice cream, right? Because maybe I need that. And I choose myself too when I go out maybe for a drink with a friend, right? And we have a good conversation. Like, choosing yourself can look like different things, but it's basically putting your energy to you. And it's super important. And I honestly, when I was single, like, I was worried about getting a relationship because I always lose myself in a relationship, right? And I'm so lucky and grateful to be in the relationship I am, where I actually start, like, I'm choosing me, they're choosing them, but we are also choosing each other. And it's just a very beautiful relationship, because I can go and do all my things, and my partner can do all their things. And then we can come together and share moments together and discuss these things. And I've actually become even a better version of myself throughout this relationship, which is amazing. Like, I'm doing things and accomplishing things that I didn't think I could do. And I'm not going to say it's because of the relationship, but it's because I keep choosing myself. And I'm lucky that I have a partner who chooses themselves too, but also supports me in what I choose for myself, and is a huge supporter for me as I am for them. And that's super important, because I find when you get in relationships, or at least I have in the past, especially relationships that probably weren't aligned with my authentic self, I would lose myself in them and start like picking up, like putting them first to another level, right? And then the problem with that is then you don't recognize yourself anymore. So I stopped doing that. And that is the 5 things that I've learned this year. And I'm very excited to see what I'm going to learn in 2026.